Oh boy, we got some things to talk about.
Oh, we have our camera! Reggie Fils-Aimé!
Obi-Wan plays.
Yes, right. What's up? All right.
Obi-Wan plays.
What is going on, everybody? How are y'all doing? Bro, Best Buy running Switch 2 bundles ASAP. Send me a link, bro. DM me a link. Breaking news. That's why y'all tune in. And we have a couple of dope Switch 2 news items to talk about. We're going to be talking about Dusk Bloods. I'm probably going to save that towards the end. I'm going to do that towards the end because we got a lot to talk about. First, let's give a shout out to the top 10 in the chat holders. ASAP, Ant, Lake Show, Neil, Mark, Chris, Oli, Kibo, and Bustin' Justin. Not hating on the end. Hey, that's right, Bustin' Justin. We here and we ain't going nowhere. We have a lot to talk about. I need everyone. What's up, Paid? I see you, L. What's up? Finally streaming on your lunch break. That's right. L can eat his sandwich and watch the stream in peace. What's up, L? Hey, I need everybody coming into the stream to give the stream a thumbs up. We're at 11 likes. 9 more people. Let's get it to 20 likes. Let's double it real quick. We got a couple of dope news items to talk about. Of course, we are having a Switch 2 console giveaway. It's going to be epic. Switch 2 console Mario Kart bundle and a 512 gigabyte micro SD express card. Shout out to Murr, one of the sponsors sponsoring this giveaway. You sent the DM. Let's check it out. We were going to talk about some pre-order stuff, but Best Buy is starting to do bundles. You know what that means? They don't have the supply, that they're short on supply. When bundles start happening, that means the supplies are going to be tight. That means we have so much short supply. We could bundle it, increase the price with these bundles, and people are still going to buy it. That's what I remember last time with the PlayStation 5. Bro, this is coming from Best Buy has bundles? No way. All right, let me check this out real quick. Let me post this up. Let me put it up. Let me put it up there. All right. Yeah. All right. We got some bundles. Hey, Pro Controller bundle. Oh, but it's not showing the whole. Hold on, let me go full screen so y'all can see it. Wasn't planning on doing this in the stream, but it's lit, so we're gonna still talk about it. All right, let's go full stream. Best Buy. That's it. Oh, we gotta make that bigger. Full screen. And what's up to Dave? Just subscribe. You're in the running for a Switch 2 console giveaway. All right. Best Buy is doing bundles. All right. This is the Mario Kart bundle. This is the base console. Bro, they're doing the base console with a Pro Controller. I'm definitely getting this Pro Controller for $534. How much is the Pro Controller by itself? Isn't the Pro Controller by itself like $85? So that's about right. Yeah, $85 more than the base price. So nothing too crazy. They got a Mario Kart plus Donkey Kong Bonanza bundle. That's crazy because Bonanza doesn't come at launch. So I don't know who's going to wait to get that. And wait, hold on. Oh, with the physical. Bro, if you want the physical, notice The digital version, $500. If you want the physical cartridge of Mario Kart World with your Switch, they're selling it separate. It's going to be an extra $30. You might as well go digital, bro. Oh, Mario Kart World bundle with the camera. They got Street Fighter bundles with the Street Fighter amiibo. Bro, check this out. I'm worried. Once you start seeing these bundles, this isn't GameStop. This is Best Buy. Bro, they have Switch 2 with Mario Kart, with Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, and Bonanza for $720. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, got one with the racing wheel for $524. That's cool. All right, so hey, shout out to ASAP for the scoop with these bundles. I get a little worried when these retailers do bundles, because I remember during the PS5 launch when they were bundled, they had these bundles. That was when it was on short supply, that they didn't get the allocations they thought they were getting, and the retailer's like, we're gonna make money, we're gonna bundle it, force y'all to get it, buy these bundles and these games. So if they have the Switch 2 bundle with Cyberpunk 2077, I'm flattening up my credit card. Hey, definitely gonna be getting Cyberpunk at launch digital, but that isn't the let's get this is also breaking news on the internet. Nintendo, I need a bundle with digital Mario Kart World and a Pro Controller. Facts, I want a Pro Controller too. Breaking news. Oh, let me turn on the volume. Nintendo just posted right before I went live. Star Wars Outlaws, we have a release date. I don't know if they posted the release date before. I know they just said later this year. But now we have a release date of September 4th of Star Wars Outlaws. It says, join Kay and Nix as they fight, steal, and outwit their way through the galaxy's crime syndicates. And join the most wanted Star Wars Outlaws. Is coming to Switch on September 4th. Yeah, I think that this is their first time. I'm going to check the DM, Lake Show. Shout out to Lake Show. They just posted this on Twitter. This video is at 3, now it says 720p, the video quality, but I want to see them drop a trailer for this game. This is going to be one of my most anticipated games. Going to get this day one. So Star Wars Outlaws, we got a release date for the Switch 2. The bundle that you sent me is crazy. Let me see, Blake Show. What's that? A fire bundle. Yeah, that's what I just talked about. $720 though. But why would anyone get that bundle if you already have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom on your Switch? That bundle is a waste, because you get a free upgrade if you have Nintendo Switch Online with Zelda, the Switch 2 editions for Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. You get those for free if you already have the game on your Switch 1. So for $720, did it say any? But those are the specific 4 games. Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Bonanza isn't even a launch game. So that bundle, you're gonna have to wait till, maybe they'll still let you get the Switch and the other 3 games, and then you come back and get Bonanza for free when it comes later. Yeah, that's the same thing. That's just on the same website ASAP sent me. What's up, everybody coming to the stream? All right, we got some news you can use today. We're going to talk about Dusk Bloods. I'm going to save that to the end. But the first thing I want to talk about, Digital Foundry just posted their hands-on impressions with the Switch 2. Let's check out what they're saying. I'm going to share my thoughts, and we're going to break it down. That's just the first thing we're going to be talking about. We got a couple more to discuss right now. What's up, everybody coming to the chat? We're at 28 likes. I need 12 people give the stream a thumbs up. Let's crush 40 likes, bro. I can't wait for this game. Dusk Bloods. No, this is Elden Ring right here. That's Elden Ring. All right. Future looking hardware. This is their overall, this is their subtitle. Future looking hardware. The Switch 2 is future proof, bro. I remember when I first got my PlayStation 4, and I was like, whoa, this is going to be a future proof console, bro. Like, it just felt ahead of its time. Like, if you bought it, you're going to get your money's worth for it. I'm getting those same feels for this Switch 2. Because it's a handheld and home console, it's a hybrid you can take on the go, but with the power it's able to kick out, future-proof console. That's what Digital Foundry says. Future-looking hardware, impressive Nintendo games, solid third-party support. This looks like a winner. That's what Digital Foundry just said. That's right. We hype up Digital Foundry when they're not hating on the end. Hey, this is what I'm gonna read that title again. Then we're gonna get into everything they say. All right, they're hands-on with the Switch 2. This is their summary of their hands-on. Future-looking hardware. It's gonna be future-proof. You're gonna get your money's worth out of this system. Impressive Nintendo games, and I did see some part of this. They were blown away with Mario Kart World. Solid third-party support. This looks like a winner. All right. We didn't attend either the New York or Paris reveal events, but Nintendo arrived in London for their Switch 2 showcase, and we were invited. And by and large, we like what we see. Let me turn on the background music just a little. Oh, it's already down. Hold on. They said we like what we see. Yes, there's a certain degree of continuity and familiarity moving from the original Switch to its successor. But from our perspective, the hardware hits the spot. Bigger, brighter, and better. That's their catchphrase for the Switch 2. Bigger, brighter, better. Nah, well, that's what they just said. All right, what's up, everybody coming into the chat? Let's go. Digital Foundry's breaking down the Switch 2. We're going to be looking at updated, the latest pre-order information. I got some news on that coming. We're going to talk about the tariff, the latest on the tariff situation, how it's going to possibly affect future Switch prices, and we're going to be breaking down Dusk Bloods. We got some news to talk about today. All right. And as for the games, well, it's early days, of course, so there's an expected quality divide among the first and third-party efforts. But Mario Kart World, that looks like a system seller. They're saying Mario Kart World is going to be a system seller. Going into the experience, perhaps the biggest question mark for us concerned, the size and heft of the Switch 2. Hogwarts Legacy, another day one game I'm getting. Picking this up day one. All right. And equally as important, I think this is a launch title too. The quality of the LCD, and my kids might like this, Harry Potter, even though they're not really into Harry Potter.
Is that Harry Potter by Universal?
The quality of the LCD panel. On the former point, comparisons against Steam Deck may reveal a similarly large device, but the fact that the new machine is essentially as thin as the old one gives it a far less cumbersome feel in the hand. They were saying it's the same size as the Steam Deck, but because it's so much thinner, it feels so much better in your hands than a Steam Deck. All right. It may sound obvious, but it just feels like a larger Switch. While the bigger display feels like a big upgrade over the original model, and especially useful for those of us a certain age with long-sighted issues. All right, we don't see much evidence of a mini LED display with individual dimming zones, so the odds that we're looking at an edge-lit LCD far from OLED quality. That said, the screen is honestly beautiful. So they're still saying they prefer OLED, but they're still saying the screen is beautiful. Nintendo's still going to come out with the OLED. but the screen is still beautiful. And while it struggles to match the contrast of the Switch OLED, it's very bright and vibrant. Viewing angles are also excellent as at even the extremes. For HDR content such as Cyberpunk's dark areas with vibrant neon nights, HDR is noticeable. But for those hoping for an experience akin to the Steam Deck OLED, Switch 2 falls short, they're saying, with as far as the video. But all right. Also, it was unclear which games shown were benefiting from the VRR technology in the display. For certain titles that struggle, not even VRR with low frame rate compression can smooth out the experience. We did take a look at doing a screen comparison, packing OG OLED Switches with Zelda Breath of the Wild installed. Unfortunately, the nature of Nintendo's filming guidelines and conditions on site made a proper film comparison challenging. What we saw from the front-on view of all three was pretty clear-cut. Switch 2 is a huge leap in quality as an LCD panel. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's not an OLED, it's an LCD, but it's going to be still beautiful. And this is where I have to disagree with them a little. The Switch 2, of course, the Switch, the OLED, beautiful screen. Here's my thing. It's still limited to 720p. The fact that the Switch 2 screen is larger and of a higher resolution, it's still gonna look beautiful. All right. With regard to the new Joy-Cons, the larger analog sticks and buttons made an immediate improvement to the feel of the machine. What's up, everybody coming into the chat? We're at 39 likes, 11 people. Let's get it to 50 right now. All right. The magnetic attachments are stubbornly firm too, and it creates a more reassuring attachment to the main device without the millimeter gap that causes a slight wiggle on the original Switch Joy-Con. That's facts. We all know that the Switch Joy-Cons, they wiggle a little bit on the original Switch. All right. This is pretty dope right here. They talk about Mario Kart World. An inevitably stunning system seller. Let's go. My son says, put on that Mario Kart World. Let's put on some Mario Kart World footage. We've already poured over pretty much every piece of footage there is for Mario Kart World, but the technical basics are confirmed. We're looking at a native 1440p resolution, which I told y'all 1440p, I'm beautiful. So Mario Kart World looks to be 1440p for a huge open world game. That is impressive, and you know the game is at least 60 frames per second locked. You know, I could just tell by the footage. So we're looking at a 1440p 60 frames per second beauty. All right. Based on our tests in dock mode, and I'm sure because the screen is limited to 1080p and handheld, it's probably going to be 1080p 60 frames per second in handheld. All right. With effective anti-aliasing. Digital Foundry always used to get on Nintendo about no anti-aliasing, but Mario Kart World has anti-aliasing. That lets us know the power of the Switch 2. All right. It does feel as if the visuals are delivering a 2-generational leap. 2-generational leap, because you got to think, this was originally on the Wii U, but even when this came out on the Wii U, this was ahead of everything at the time. I was like, this looks better than these PS4 games out right now, bro. Like Mario Kart 8, when Mario Kart 8 first came out, was leaps and bounds ahead of everything, bro. And they are saying that this game is a 2-generational leap over the previous Mario Kart. Given we haven't had a new Mario Kart since the Wii U version in 2014. Material quality on the road, the tarmac and the gravel all have much higher resolution texture assets than Mario Kart 8 ever provided. And it's certainly a huge leap over the new DLC tracks added to Mario Kart 8. Model quality and animations are significantly higher too. Yeah, I think I showed y'all one time Princess Peach in World and Princess Peach in Mario Kart 8. Night and day, bro. Night and day, the difference. Model quality and animations are significantly higher too, with a style much closer to the recent Mario movie. Bruh, let's go. And I tell y'all, because Nintendo always maximizes their games for their hardware. I wish my stream, because my stream quality is like low quality, like 720, 1080p. I'm gonna figure out how to I know how to do it. I just haven't tested it and stuff to get my stream quality up so y'all can see the game looking better, and to I have it blown up from a small capture, so it doesn't look as clean as if you were to watch this in like 4K or something. But this game looks real good, bro. This game looks real good. All right. So y'all hear this? They say that with a style much more closer to the recent Mario movies. They're comparing the game to the Mario movie. All right. Yeah, Nintendo developers are just geniuses, bro. Shadows are much more dynamic, with softer diffuse shadows falling on the track when they stem from tall trees. In performance terms, everything we played rolled out a locked 60 frames per second. That's all we need, bro. A solid 60 frames per second. However, gameplay in our demo is significantly slower in place to the top-end Mario Kart 8 experience due to the demo being limited to the 100cc mode. So they can only race at 100cc in the demo, which is medium. 50, easy. 100, medium. 150, supposed to be hard. And then 200, expert. All right. Perhaps the slower speed is for the best in the demo, to make sure players acquaint themselves with the new wall jumps and rail grinding mechanics. That's what I'm going to do. When I first get the game, I'm going to keep it on the whatever it is. I think it's going to be at 100cc. We're going to play first at 100cc just so we can experience all the tracks. The very first thing I'm going to do in this game is unlock Rainbow Road. We got to get Rainbow Road unlocked. Kyrie, Hall Monitor in the building. Bro, Kyrie, what's up, bro? Hope you've been good. We miss you in the OGC. Hey, Switch 2 is a good time to come on back. Hey, shout out to Kyrie, Hall Monitor in the building. Hope you've been good, bro. All right. How 100cc perhaps, so yeah. To make sure players acquaint themselves with new wall jump and rail grinding mechanics and not overwhelm play given the 24 racers. The sentence was weird. The demo didn't feature any access to the open world, so there was certainly a degree of familiarity in play, but the huge increase in racers up to 24 immediately creates more moment-to-moment chaos coming from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe simpler 12 race or limit. Who knows? Baby part might still be added. All right. The description may seem a little dry because Nintendo delivers joy in spades with this game. It looks beautiful. It's super smooth and it oozes character in every moment. Let's go, Mario Kart World. Yes, it's expensive to buy, but perhaps the majority of its early adopters will be getting the bundle pack. You can count us among this number. That's facts. And it's as I reported yesterday, the bundle pack may be a limited supply, may be discontinued in the fall. Get that Mario Kart bundle, brah. All right. Let's switch to, is this really? Oh, let's save this for later. I might. Let me. How do I save this settings? All right, we'll check it out later. All right. Bro, they're going to talk about Metroid Prime 4 at 120 frames per second. Bro, let's get some Metroid. Prime 4. Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. Switch 2 edition trailer. All right, hold on. Let's see the Switch 2 edition. This is from IGN. Hold on, y'all. I hate IGN with these commercials. They're about to talk about Metroid Prime 4. All right, let's go. Let's get some Prime footage. Prime 4. Bro, this is the game I want to play the most. All right, Joshua, other side. All right, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Played at 120 frames per second. This was an interesting experience to say the least, as Nintendo set up Metroid Prime 4 exclusively in 120 Hz performance mode, running only in dock view, meaning we were running at 1080p output resolution. Not only have we played the game at 120 frames per second, we have some direct feed capture of this mode too, courtesy of Nintendo itself. In both cases, the evidence does suggest that the game is indeed running locked. Locked at 120 frames per second is crazy work, bro. It's fair to point out that this is very much a mildly tweaked version of the Switch 1 experience with higher quality textures, with Switch 2 horsepower directed to higher resolutions and frame rates. The game already looks good on the Switch 1, but the higher resolutions and frame rate icing on the cake. There is aliasing in this 1080p 120 mode, and we'd expect most people to opt for 4K 60 instead in living room conditions. Yeah, this is how I'm going to be playing this game. When I'm playing it docked on my gaming monitor, my 4K monitor, we're playing 4K 60 docked. Handheld mode, 120 frames. That's how we're going to be playing it. But this wasn't living room conditions. Tabletop Switch 2 mouse controls was also part of the experience. I'm going to be using the Pro Controller, bro. I'm going to be using the Pro Controller. ASAP Pops up, Obi-Wan, awesome content creators. Keep up the good, sir. What's up, bro? Appreciate you coming through. We are lit. We are ready for the Switch 2.
Daddy,
Yeah.
do you know where Caleb is?
Yeah. He went to Epic. He went to Nintendo World.
Yeah, he went to Nintendo World.
My
He had
oldest
the
son is at
DK
Nintendo
wristband.
World,
He
bruh.
got the DK wristband.
Bruh, I'm gonna, cause it just opened.
He has a Yoshi plushie on his hat. Wait, mommy.
It just opened in Florida. Part of me too is, it's all good. It's probably gonna be too packed. I'm gonna wait a little bit, then we're gonna go. We're gonna do an Epic live stream whenever we go though. All right, locked 120 in performance mode. Yes, paid. This is crazy, bro. All right, it's a great. I'm still gonna try out the Joy-Con mouse for a little bit, but I just know they already motion aiming is confirmed, so I'm gonna be good with the Pro Controller. And for me, motion aiming is so accurate when you know how to do it, bro. All right, it's a great idea for those for this game to use mouse controls, but in practice, there are a few notes. Firstly, even though you have the high precision of PC mouse controls here, there is still a lock-on ability on the left Joy-Con trigger to target an enemy. It makes sense for the traditional analog control scheme and goes back to the original Prime games. But when you have mouse pointer controls, it's not necessary. Bro, they're saying mouse aiming is so precise, you don't even need to lock on. But we are going to be using lock-on aiming too. Secondly, the ergonomics of the mouse controls are not what we'd expected. For any shooting segments, you keep that right Joy-Con face sideways down on a table with your index and middle fingers wrapped around the top of the two firing modes. However, the face buttons on the side of the Joy-Con still serve a purpose. Transforming into the morph ball requires some finger gymnastics. You can either keep that position and learn to use your thumb while tilting the Joy-Con at an odd angle, or as we did, return to a traditional controller grip, raising the Joy-Con from the table when I'm not shooting enemies. And it's seamless transitioning. I saw videos of that. The final point I wanted to add is that we notice a slight degree of mouse lag. Maybe it's the TV settings on site, but it did creep into the accuracy of aiming compared to regular mouse. There are mouse sensitivity settings though, which is certainly useful. So you'll be able to customize your settings, but knowing Nintendo, and the game isn't coming out until later this year, Nintendo's going to make sure everything is spot on precise. One thing about Nintendo, when they release a first party game, usually it's going to be tip top quality. So gonna be good. Hey, yeah, let's go, bro. All right, we've been waiting, bro. The next game, Donkey Kong Bonanza. They're breaking them all down. All right, Kong Bonanza. Let's put up a trailer for that too. Why not? Hey, super hyped for this game, and I think this is a perfect second month release. Bro, Donkey Kong Bonanza, ambitious, but the jury's still out. Nintendo's keeping quiet on who is actually developing this title, but we love the ambition on display here. Volition Geomod technology lives on in this Red Faction gorilla, where the amount of distraction, get it? Red Faction, he's a gorilla, of distraction wrought by Donkey Kong punching his way around and through the world creates a different and perhaps sometimes a little overwhelming 3D platforming experience. This one runs at native 1080p according to the initial reveal, and based on hands-on tests, aliasing is very hard to catch. The coverage is impressive to the point where you do start to think about image reconstruction technology and maybe even DLSS at work in this game. Players of this demo start at the mines of England, punching and smashing through the scenery and until reaching daylight. Once you get to the peak, a giant meteor suddenly crashes into the top of the city. The demo then cuts to a more open area where you're free to tackle objectives as you see fit in a sandbox environment. Honestly, but that 2D stage, crazy. And they have mine carts. Bro, this game is going to be epic, bro. All right. You're allowed to use rocks as shields, ride on them down hills, and use them as projectiles against enemies. So it's a well integrated as a mechanic. I'm not 100% convinced this physics destruction focus translates to a more enjoyable game, but it's a fun twist. One highlight is Donkey Kong's design. This is what they're saying. It's richly detailed. It's a richly detailed, expressive model, complete with a head torch that lights up the environment ahead. His model is also covered in a feather-like hair cards. They have this almost plastic-like glossy material that harkens back to Donkey Kong Country. And each card animates separately, lighting up logically based on the surrounding light. Good stuff. All right. Bonanza targets 60 frames per second. We're getting information on each game according to their breakdown and analysts. And no, it's not almost a given because this is a beautiful game. Nintendo could have tried to get away with 30 frames locked, but I'm so glad all of these games are 60 frames per second. Gameplay is king. We're at 55 likes. 15 people give the stream a thumbs up. Let's get it to 70. 70 likes right now. Oh, it's saying, but it's not quite consistent, especially on the map view, where performance ping-pongs rapidly between 30 frames and 60 frames. But if you're looking at a map, who cares if it's 30 frames? Classic double buffer VSync. Also, the photo mode view appears to drop to 30. Again, every game has photo mode at 30 frames. So we don't care when you're taking pictures. You're standing still anyway. 30 frames. Which suggests it's using a higher resolution or settings than the regular gameplay. Also, there seems to be different frame rates in gameplay. The target is 60, but there are drops. Not only that, but some physics-based interactions Like anytime DK punches a fence or barrel to the distance, may see animation update closer to 30 frames, while the foreground gameplay updates at 60 as usual. So for the most part, it's going to be a locked 60 frames per second experience, and I'm almost guaranteeing you that it's going to be 60 frames for pretty much your whole gameplay experience. Going to be a first-party Nintendo game. It's going to be quality, bro. All right. It looks like some physics-based logic runs with the frame rate cap, creating a disconnect between the camera movement, which runs at 60 frames. The physics-based destruction is interesting. Donkey Kong Bonanza is almost proud of how many particles it's throwing around, often filling the screen. That's impressive. The chunks you pick up from the ground also snap off, and within a single frame, the geometry and attached collision mesh disappears underneath, meaning you fall into the hole you create. There are limits to how far or wide you can dig on the X or Y axis, but the design language of where and when it's possible to smash geometry is clear. Also, going frame by frame, the transforming of the environment is hidden by huge bursts of particles around Donkey Kong. It's like a magic trick. There's the sense that this needs a little more time. The performance drops, and occasionally odd camera movement is at odds with the first-party polish Nintendo is renowned for. So they're saying the game needs a little. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be a fantastic addition, and for it to be month 2, right after Mario Kart World, I thought Nintendo was going to let another big first-party game breathe. Like, I wasn't expecting another big game so soon, but the fact that this is coming only 1 month after, it's going to be dope, bro. All right, now they're talking about some of the third-party games. All right, so let's check it out. Woo-wee. All right. Early signs are promising. The Switch 2 is an early success, so we're going to get to that. They're going to break down the third-party games. This is where I know I'm not going to agree with some of the things they say, but we're going to see. All right, let's go. There's a definite divide between first-party games built by world-leading developers targeting the hardware specifically and third-party games from all comers. Of course, there's going to be a divide, especially at launch, because Nintendo has much more time to work with the hardware. And this is what's going to happen. The third-party games at launch, it's going to continue to just get better and better as developers are more comfortable with the hardware. All right. Porting titles originally made for the cross-gen 8th and 9th gen console eras. We've already talked in depth about Cyberpunk 2077 and since discovered that DLSS is in play. So they were wrong about that. So they're not 100% right. But our opinions of third-party ports haven't really shifted since assessing their showing at the Nintendo Direct. However, we were very eager to see Street Fighter 6 on Switch 2, available only in dock mode at the London event. This is our first taste of an RE Engine Capcom title, which is exciting given the number of games I'm hoping to see on Switch 2 down the line. Expect a lot of Capcom support for the Switch 2. I can't wait until the first Monster Hunter game drops on the Switch 2. All right. In this case, Switch 2's optimization is a success where it matters, and holding a stable 60 frames per second. That's the biggest thing in a fighting game, to have it at a locked 60 frames per second. But it does take a few trade-offs visually to get there. It renders at 1080p based on direct footage, just like the Series S. The Series S version was also at 1080p according to them, and with a similar drop in shadow quality as those versions too. As a result, there's some flickering to the shadows, and ambient shading around here. Textures may be higher than the Series S. Y'all heard that? The textures may be higher than the Xbox Series S. We hype up every advantage the Switch 2 has. That's right. That's what you got to expect on this channel. I'm telling y'all, man, this console is punching above its weight and already outdoing my expectations. I was saying, hopefully it's more powerful than a PS4 and somewhere around Xbox Series S. It's right there, punching with the Xbox Series S. So this is dope. Yes, Cloud9, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming to the Switch 2, and it's going to be dope. All right. Here it goes. We have to report back on with the direct capture from the Switch 2. All right. They're saying in terms of graphical selections, it falls closer to PS4 than the Series S, i.e. a mixture of low medium settings based on the PC version. Screen pace reflections are removed outright here, much like those versions. Let me see. It's not a huge loss given how. So the things that they're comparing it to the PS4 don't really even matter. All right. But a surprise given even the PS4 Pro and also Series. It's missing certain dynamic elements stage 2, like the interactive cherry blossom petals on the floor. All right. Still, I will stress, for the power on tap and Switch 2, it looks great. All right. They're saying it looks great. Moving on, Hogwarts Legacy. Now, Hogwarts Legacy is going to be another game I'm getting day one on the Switch. It's somewhere in here. There it is, Hogwarts Legacy. Day one. And I've heard great initial impressions about this game running on the Switch 2. Not even from Digital Foundry, but from other people who played it. All right. A proper current gen showcase in its launch iterations on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. The Switch 2 version was presented only as a docked experience. It's a rather stripped down take on the game visually, but it runs well most of the time at 30 frames per second. Even while flying at speeds on a broom, you get the huge draw distance of the region around Hogwarts with only some shadow pop-ins across the trees. It's functionally 30 frames per second in what should be the most taxing aspect of the game. The demo takes us from the outskirts of Hogwarts into a Colosseum-like fight pit where we take on a boss. Runs at a 30 frames per second cap, though as a side-on view of the pit drops us visibly into the 20s at one specific point here. Let's say the rest metrics in the direct suggest 720p typical resolution with some variant of TAA upscaling, possibly even DLSS, though whether that's true of this build is unclear. AA resolves most of the jagged edges nicely, anti-aliasing, but it does look somewhat blurry compared to other versions while textures look pared back. Also, there are no graphic toggles in this demo build. All right. They're talking about Yakuza. Don't really care. I'm not getting Yakuza at launch. Let me see. Don't just at this point we're hours, and we could have done another first hours. We've done fine. All right. Here's their overall summary of their experience and impressions of the Switch 2. Switch 2, a worthy successor? Question mark. Early signs are promising. There's a strong argument that all of the console platform holders, Nintendo has managed to maintain a certain magic across the generations. In its own way of doing things, original hardware designs, a focus on joyous gaming over cutting-edge specs, and a continuous delivery of high-quality games separate and distinct from anything Sony and Microsoft have to offer. That's facts. Nintendo is going to give you something better. They just said distinct, but I'm saying better. Better than what Sony and Microsoft has to offer. The original Switch was so successful because it still did all of those things while at the same time delivering a console that was almost more open and accessible to third-party developers. The big takeaway from the event is simple. Switch 2 is a continuation of the Switch 1 formula, and while many may have been hoping for some kind of brand new game-changing innovation, the fact that the offering is still sufficiently different enough from the competition to make it a winner. It stands alone in what it does. Meanwhile, the collaboration with Nvidia continues to yield dividends. Nintendo has a hardware partner capable of delivering hardware with cutting-edge features, and I get the sense that we're only just beginning to see what the T239 processor is capable of. Y'all hear this? They're saying we're just getting a glimpse, because this is what y'all have to remember. This is launch. This is launch. These developers haven't had these kits for not even a year, probably, just for months, just getting a taste. So once they start optimizing it, man, Switch 2 is going to be crazy. Basic rest, but the hardware is capable of more. So they're saying even what the third-party offering so far, they feel that the hardware is capable of more than what the third-party output is so far. And of course, that makes sense because this is just at launch. The games are just going to continue to get better and better and better. All right. The hardware may not be state-of-the-art, but it doesn't need to be. Just like its predecessor, Switch 2 will thrive or fail based on the quality of its software. Mario Kart World sees normal resumption of duty from the platform holder, whatever that meant, while Donkey Kong Bonanza still has something to prove. Bearing in mind how long Switch 2 has been in development, T239 first leaked in 2021, NVIDIA demo DLSS around 2021. We can only imagine that there's plenty more in Nintendo Studio that's quite far along in development that hasn't been announced yet. Nintendo still has games in its back pocket. All right. Let's just summarize. They're saying we're optimistic about Switch 2, but 4 hours with very limited time to see all of stuff means we still have a lot of questions about the machine. After Nintendo Direct, I was heavy on dock footage. All right, so overall, they had a positive impression. Mario Kart World, they're saying, is going to be a system seller. The game looks beautiful, runs beautiful, a 2-generational leap over the previous game. And I can't wait. I cannot wait. I can't emphasize this enough. I cannot wait to play this system. All right. Let's get to this next news item. Nintendo faces a trade war test with the Switch 2's launch. The Switch 2 is vital to Nintendo's future possibility. Nintendo Switch 2 retains the $500 Switch 2 price tag. Lots of demand for more powerful Switch 2 experience. All right, here's the gist of what this article is saying. This is coming from Cirkin Total. Check out this one quote. If the tariffs are really going to hit them, they probably still need to raise the price of the Switch 2. This just talks about how uncertain the whole tariff situation is right now. And Nintendo is still not out of the woods. That there is still so much cloud of uncertainty with the tariff situation that Switch 2, not just the Switch, but PlayStation and Xbox can still fall victim to price increases. And not still, PlayStation and Xbox has had to increase their price. They've had to increase their price of their consoles in regions all around the world. Nintendo has had to increase their price even before the console launched. Not of the console, but the accessories. There has been a $5 increase to every accessory, and the console hasn't even launched yet. So we're living in crazy times. That's why I'm saying if you're comfortable with this price point, get it now, because you don't know how much it's going to cost next year, bro. ASAP say raise the price so he can get his console quick and easy. But this is what I wanted to get to today. The developers for Dusk Blood, they've shared more insight on the game. My kids are screaming in the background. Brielle, keep it down. Let's share. Let's hear what they have to say about the game. This is just part one. We're only going to do part one because it's a lot to cover. But Dusk Bloods. This is what I tweeted out on Twitter. Where's my? How do I go to my? Hold on. This is what I tweeted out on Twitter before we get to Dusk Bloods. Hold on. Where's my? Bro, Fortnite has WrestleMania. Fortnite don't waste no time, bro.
Yeah,
I tweeted out
What does Fortnite have?
only wrestling, only on Switch 2.
Wait, go up.
No, I don't have it. I already moved it. Let me see. Yeah, Fortnite.
Oh, yeah.
The legend and the champion. All right. Undertaker, one of the GOATs. I was an Undertaker fan as a kid. All right. Only on Switch 2. The fact that Nintendo was able... All right, you got to get up, Brielle. You got to get up. Yeah. No. I'm going to tell you why. I told her she can't. I don't want her watching this Dusk Bloods. It's not a game for little kids. So I told her she had to go. All right. Dusk Bloods. Can you please give us a quick self-introduction? My name is Hideki Miyazaki. I work at From Software, and I'm the director of Dusk Bloods. All right. From Software, big studio. First off, please tell us what led to this title being developed for the Switch 2. I want to know this. How did this game end up as a Switch 2 exclusive? A while back, we had the opportunity to meet with Nintendo to discuss ideas. And during this discussion, we presented a rough outline for the Dusk Bloods. It was still very bare bones at the time, more a loose string of ideas than a proper presentation. The concept itself was different from anything we had done before, and Nintendo seems very interested in helping making it a reality. So this is why this is going to be a Nintendo exclusive, and it's not going to change anytime soon. When Nintendo shells out money to develop a game, they expect it to stay. They expect it to say, look at Bayonetta. What was the last Bayonetta? Bayonetta 3? Is Bayonetta 3 on anything yet? Anything else other than the Switch? Nope. Or Bayonetta 4, whichever one was the last Bayonetta. Nope. Because Nintendo paid for it. If Nintendo paid for it, they're going to control. Nah, we ain't ready for y'all to just have anybody else play this game. All right. So that's when the project kicked off, when Nintendo started shelling out some money. At first, it was being worked on by a small team as a title for Nintendo Switch. However, just as the game started to take shape, we were approached by Nintendo with talk of Switch 2, which led us to revamp our development path with this new hardware in mind. Let's bump up the graphical capability of the game. The new hardware focus on online features allowed us to stay as true bless me, original version as possible, which was very good news for us. It sounds like the game differs from most of your previous titles. Can you give us a little more detail as to what type of game it is? In terms of structure, we consider it a P versus E, player versus environment or everyone title. At its core, it's an online multiplayer focused game with both player versus player and player versus enemy gameplay. Let's go. Did you always have some desire to make a PvPvE type game? Yes, I've always found the PvPvE. This one battle scene right there with that big dude, boom, that was crazy. All right. It allows for a broad range of game design ideas, while also letting us leverage our experience of designing challenging enemy encounters. As a side note, please allow me to address one thing. As previously mentioned, this is an online multiplayer title at its core, but this doesn't mean that we as a company have decided to shift to a more multiplayer focused direction with titles going forward. The Nintendo Switch 2 version of Elden Ring was also announced, and we still intend to actively develop single-player focused games such as this that embrace our more traditional style. I've never played Elden Ring, so we might play it for the first time on the Switch 2. All right. Please tell us about the game's characters and settings. Let's get more information on the game. The game's protagonists or characters controlled by the player are known as Bloodsworn. The Bloodsworn are a group whose members have achieved superhuman abilities through the power of special blood. As a general concept, they're similar to vampires, but they are not portrayed as the horrifying monsters you might associate with traditional vampires. We tried to extract the sort of romantic aspect we found interesting from concepts such as vampires and blood and reinterpreted them as the Bloodsworn. In the Dusk Bloods, the Bloodsworn are competing for something known as First Blood. As human societies reaches an end, First Blood flows in an event known as the Twilight of Humanity. The Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity across a variety of different times and places in a bid to obtain First Blood. Due to this, there is no fixed era or location in which Dusk Bloods takes place. There are more traditional Gothic or Victorian style maps, as well as those depicting the closing years of the early modern period, like the one glimpsed in the trailer with the train running through it. All right, can you tell us the meaning behind the title, The Dusk Bloods? The Dusk Bloods directly refers to the Bloodsworn themselves. As mentioned earlier, the Bloodsworn are summoned to the Twilight of Humanity in a battle for First Blood. Dusk Bloods is a collective term for these characters controlled by the players. And this is where it comes to an end. It sounds like blood plays a pretty big role in the game. Yes, in the context of this game, blood is used more conceptually as opposed to literally meaning like physical depictions of injury. Blood symbolizes one of the game's key themes: the history it holds, the power it passes on, the faith it weaves, and the marker of those who have surpassed limitations of their own humanity. Next part talks about the superhuman abilities. We'll talk about it in another stream. We'll just go through it. Oh, it's not even that long. So probably at the end of another stream, we'll just briefly talk about it. But the fact that Nintendo was able to get this game announced at their Nintendo Direct as an exclusive to the Switch 2, major. AAA third-party game exclusive to Nintendo. We back, baby. We back with power. Nintendo power. Can't wait to play my Switch 2. Can't wait for pre-orders in 3 days. Can't wait for June 5th. This is going to be an epic year for gaming. All right. These are all the news items we got for this stream. What do y'all think about everything we talked about? Sound off in the comment section below. I want to know. But before you go, bro, click that subscribe button. Stay up to date. All things Nintendo. We out. Peace.
It's Kirby.
Kirby Air Riders.
No, it's Ketchup Kirby.
Air Riders. Let's go. We out.
It's Ketchup Kirby.
Outro. Come on.
Oh, we have most Reggie Fils-Aimé!
Obi-Wan plays.
That's right. What's up? All right.
Obi-Wan plays.